So over the last few years, we've seen great growth in the space economy in Africa, and a lot of that is happening organically to an extent. But given the context of Africa as a continent, there is a definite need for deliberate support and deliberate intervention in growing the space economies within the continent. We've seen a lot of exciting stuff happen in North Africa, in East Africa. The Kenyan Space Agency is one example of a space program that's doing really exciting things. And at present, there's actually about 20 space programs across the African continent, all of which have very exciting initiatives happening. As we look to grow space economies and support African space industry on the continent, there are a number of different approaches we can take, and we've seen different space programs using different approaches. Reese, as a company, has been heavily involved within the space industry in a number of African countries. And one of the ways we've seen distinct growth in the space industry is around support given to ecosystem development, and in particular innovation ecosystem development. As we kind of shift away from space being distinctly in the realm of government and defense ministries, we've seen a lot of the private sector grow within the space ecosystem and the space industry, which has been really exciting to see. And that's large companies shifting and moving kind of what they do into the space realm, but also very small startups knowing that the space pie, if you will, in Africa is large and is growing, and there's plenty of opportunity for private sector startups and entrepreneurs to take a part of that pie.
Blakely is a waste management and recycling company using technology, mainly software for drones, to quickly identify poor waste disposal on physical sites so that waste can be collected and recycled into marketable products. Moreover, satellite imagery shows the amount of waste collected instead of poorly disposed and the resultant carbon impact.
Snuko is an addressing system for the developing world. And what we seek to do with it is to enable all the public and private services that are unavailable to people in the developing world because they don't have addresses. We set out to build an addressing system that far exceeded what was possible in the developing world, and I think we've done a pretty good job in achieving that.
And there's a lot of challenges that African space programs and African space entrepreneurs and startups face. So one, in terms of resources, first in terms of financing. Obviously, running particularly a space startup is an expensive venture, and access to finance is a real problem faced by startups in Africa. There's a distinct lack of adequate human capital to support these startups and to grow them. Those are two kind of key resource problems. And then again, social problems. One, a lot of countries, for them, space is not necessarily the top of the priority list. There's other issues that they're dealing with or facing, which forces them to have to deprioritize space.
It's often the case that, when you start bringing along, what is seen to be, advanced technology in places where people don't have good drinking water or have more basic problems, it is often ignored, and those things are seen as high priority. But the reality is that the use of these technologies, as has been demonstrated, in Western countries, is very fundamental to building up the economy and solving a lot of these problems, that people are talking about.
If we're able to work with agencies or with government to show how space can address these problems and the value that space can bring to solving these problems, we really feel that will add in supporting the private sector to grow.
I was pleased to partake in the Africa Earth Observation Challenge in the year 2022, and through this I received mentorship and coaching, leading to increased visibility and new market opportunities for my company.
There are a lot of really distinct opportunities in Africa. Again, Africa is a very large continent, so it almost feels wrong to talk about it as one. And the space industry in and of itself is very large. We've got an upstream, a midstream, and a downstream, and there are opportunities in Africa along that full kind of value chain, in the midstream, in the upstream, and in the downstream. And really, if startups and if ecosystems are going to, entrepreneurs are going to take hold of those opportunities, it's really about ensuring there's that base level of support. Resources are available to them. The regulations and the legislature is enabling for those startups, and they have support in terms of accessing finance. If we are able to address those base issues and base challenges, the startups and the entrepreneurs are able to access those opportunities.